And next we got Norton Hickman. Hopefully I pronounced that. And again, that's the last person I've had sign up to speak during public comment. I'm only going to ask one more time. If you want to speak during public comment, you need to get your list. You need to get yourself on a list over there, and then the clerk will bring it up here, and we'll introduce you then. So I got to have you on the list.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I'm back on Willow again, you know. A friend of mine lives at 7109 Willow. He's in a wheelchair. He wants to know if he has to obey the one-way sign.
If we're playing Stump the Panel, you're not going to get an answer back. So. I don't know the answer, sir, but I'm sure we can get the answer for you on that.
And, you know, we didn't ask for it to be widened. We just want it to go back two-way. It's simple. $25 to take down the signs and make it two-way. Not no $1 million road, you know. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, while you're up in the plaid shirt, would you just come on up forward, and then I'll introduce after that. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Dennis Yancey. I live at 6104 Manning Avenue. Appreciate you guys letting me speak. I own a house. I'm not a landlord. I do not plan on renting my property, but I am worried about my property value. And I think a couple of guys have already made mention that ordinance are only as good as if you can enforce them. I live next door to a house with 16 people living in it, 16 families living in it. My property value has gone down. Codes can't keep up with the problems. And if you guys step up and you take care of these things, like I've asked you for the last 12 years that I've lived in Raytown, we wouldn't have these problems. I'm very disappointed. Each one of these things have caused me harm. People coming over to my house, these are I'm not sure the proper term. These are medical people that belong in supervised care. God bless them, okay? They can't help this. But I chose to live in that neighborhood, and they were put in there by the state. A woman is making profit, does not live in that house, lives in Lone Jack, has a nice house, country land, peaceful. I have a beautiful neighbors, and we all have the same problems. Ladies making money off of Medicare, Medicaid, to take care of these people. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll get a wake-up call from somebody who's wandered outside their supervision, knocking on my door. I've had dogs running through my neighborhood, and they can't get them because, well, they're not able to get out of the house to take care of people that they have to take care of, supervise. I call animal control. After hours, I get a message. Said if it's an emergency, call 911. Our city's taxed, okay? So whatever ordinance you put in place, make it enforceable. I also look at it as the renting situation. Is this going to be commercial property now? Because there's this house that's right next door to me. Ambulances come in. I have probably 3 or 4 ambulances a week. Not counting the buses that stop by, the city buses, not even Metro. These are some private source buses for transportation for these people to go back and forth to doctor's appointments. Whose tax-paying money is taking care of this? I live in an R1 zone. R1. and my tax paying, the money that I pay for my taxes is minimal compared to commercial, like a Walmart. That those taxes that are set for commercial property, they're set up to take in consideration that ambulances are going to come in there. Ambulances only get paid if they have to do transportation. If they come out to your house and they perform CPR and you're able to walk up and let you stay at your house, it doesn't cost you a dime. It costs the city the dime. It costs the county the dime. So what we need to do is we want to make sure that if you do let these properties go on where we can rent, that we set up a different type of zoning to be able to tax them, because they're not residential. You've got property owners that you know, I've got two properties in surrounding neighborhoods that are rental properties. They're the same properties that the city cites them for grass violations, but their grass stays tall. One landlord just said to you guys, he got penalized and didn't know it. People don't have an invested interest in that property to make sure that it looks nice. They don't care about it. They have maybe a year, and then they get kicked out. 90 days, whatever it is. They're just there for short term. I have an invested interest in Raytown. I have an invested interest in my property. And if I want to stay here, if you want me to stay here, you need to have an invested interest in it as well. Not saying that you don't, but as far as I'm concerned, with my next door neighbor who's been dealing with this thing for over 12 years, this is a problem. Failure on codes, failure on zoning, failure on animal control. I just wonder where the benefits are. Please make sure that we do something reasonable and enforceable when we put this together. I'd like to hear more about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey. Our good friend Jeff Page is next. Evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's pretty well known that I'm about a 30-year resident in Raytown, and I don't give my personal address anymore publicly for reasons of personal security. But I wanted to speak in opposition to a proposed ordinance to register rental properties. And I would like to start by saying all properties are owned, whether rental or not. And I've not heard a definition yet of rental properties, and I think that's the subject, or for the reason of registering owners of properties that may be rented. But I would say it strikes very near to the segregation of residents by property type. And it seems that that's treading very closely to a violation of our federal fair housing laws. And I think if it's property maintenance that we're concerned about, we need to think clearly and universally that we enact the appropriate ordinances that pertain to property maintenance and apply them universally, whether residents are owner-occupied or renters of property that is owned by somebody. That's my only point. Thank you for the opportunity
Thanks,
to speak.
Jeff. Always good to see you. Mr. Jim Cook, please. Evening, sir.
Evening. I'm really here tonight to address what, in my opinion, is one of the largest problems facing our city, and that's property values. As I'm sure everyone is aware, the effects of depreciated property values are numerous and diverse. Decline in city revenue, which in turn is a decline in departmental funding, public works, public safety, capital improvement projects. Decline in quality schools, and ultimately increase in Raytown crime rate. Consequently, all these things I just mentioned contribute to market decline in property value. It's a pretty circular problem. I think it's pretty needless to say that property values are the proverbial backbone of any thriving community. While I believe the current economic state is largely to contribute to the problem we face, I think it becomes incumbent upon our elected officials to address this issue to the full extent of their ability. It's my understanding that the board will begin a study session this evening regarding regulations for rental properties. I encourage the board to pursue this subject with a very simple question in mind. Will any resulting regulations lead to increased property value? It's my firm belief that addressing the conditions of some of Raytown's rental properties is a necessary step in establishing ourselves as a desirable community for current and future citizens. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.